Alright everyone, we're going to talk about gluing, okay? One of my viewers asked for a video on gluing models together. He said he could paint, but he makes mistakes with gluing. This model here is a particular challenge to glue, because this is the first time I have ever painted everything before gluing it together. Now, I still need to do some work with these spark plugs. I did hit the shrink tube with some heat though, and they shrink up some, so they look a lot better now. But I need to make a wire holder, because spark plug wires don't do what those are doing. Okay, now that one kit came with wire holders, so I'm liable just to use them. But then if I do that, I can put everything together first, because they're just put in with some tweezers. Here's the deal. This is painted. You can't glue things together that are painted. Okay? You got to remove the paint first. Some of the parts I was really good about keeping the paint off. Some of them I kept the paint off areas I thought they were supposed to keep the paint off. No, that needs to be painted. So I'm going to have to fix that. And that's going to have to be painted before it's glued in. Okay? But for the most part, most of these parts have paint where there's not supposed to be paint. What I've done is I have a dropper of lacquer thinner. And I have to use that because I use lacquer paints, I used acrylics, I used all sorts of stuff on here. And I've got some cosmetic Q-tips. And what I will do is I'll take my Q-tip and wet the end of it with the lacquer thinner. Then I take my model part, and I've already test fitted the engine, so I know exactly where the engine's supposed to go in here. And I come in here with this Q-tip wet with some lacquer thinner on it, and I start pulling the paint off that spot. It's not a fast process. It takes some time. You can't expect it to be like 2 seconds later and you're done. And it takes a couple of these to do it. It's either that or figure out how the whole model goes together first before you paint. One or the other will work. I mean, quite literally. Alright. I've got two different kinds of these. I tend to like these better than the other. So I tend to look at the one with the paddle on the end. Okay. They're not as pointy in the front, but... Okay, that got a little too much in there, so let me go to the other side and work on it. There we go. That's pulling the paint off just like I like it. Wanted it. And by pulling the paint off, that means my model glue will work. Now, some of you are thinking, why don't you just use some CA glue? I don't like using CA glue to glue models together with, unless they're resin. Even then, I don't really like it. The reason being is CA holds, and all I have to do is hit it and it'll come apart. Whereas this model glue, nah, it bonds. It actually melts the plastic down and allows it to reform a bond as two separate, I mean it's one piece, instead of two separate pieces being held together by a binding agent. So I prefer to use model glue on this instead of CA. Okay, I just prefer to. I think it's going to do a better job at the end. There we go. That glues off there. Paint, sorry. Now lacquer thinner will soften the plastic too. Now here's the fun one. This groove in here, that's where the next part goes. And one thing about this is I got to come back in here and clean up. That's an email. I'm spamming YouTube with a lot of videos right now, so I'm getting lots of emails right now. I'm doing it because the contest ends June. Ooh, that's another thing to watch for. You don't want that to hit your drop parts that are sitting there waiting for attachment. I'm spamming YouTube right now with a lot of videos because the contest ends really soon. Yeah, I'm going to have to touch this paint up in here. That's okay. I want to do a little weathering in here anyhow. That should be enough. But the contest ends very soon, and I've got more videos than I know what to do with, so the videos are getting thrown up fairly quickly. Alright, now, gluing. Like I said, I could use some CA glue. Don't want to. Or I could use one of these. I'm going to use this one. Okay? The extra thin is wonderful stuff, but it doesn't hold up all that well. Okay? I also have some of this stuff here. I have found this holds about as well as the extra thin. This stuff holds much better. And when I go to glue my parts, it's very simple. And this doesn't dry incredibly fast, so I like it. I just put a little bit of glue in my spot with this stuff. Now, if you're using the extra thin, you put the parts together and then hit it with the glue. That's the big difference between these. Now, maneuvering this part in here is a bit of fun because the engine just fits in very one way. All my test fitting work is great. So that engine's in there. Now, if I want to be crazy, I don't think it's necessary, I can just tap this parts with this stuff. This stuff will eat paint, by the way, so you got to be careful with it. You just tap them with the extra thin stuff. That's how that works. Now this other part, this is why I did some test fitting before I did this, to make sure my parts are going to go correctly. This part's the tricky one. Okay? Because a little bit of glue goes there. A little bit of glue goes here. And then I got to maneuver this thing, and I'm probably going to grab some tweezers for this. I'm not a big fan of using tweezers either. You loop it around there. See? That glue's already softening these parts. Now I need to get this to latch here and loop over that at the same time. I did it in the test fit stage, so I know it's possible, and it does fit. And I think I just got it in there, and I'm going to use a toothpick to push it down here with. There we go. I just got it in there right. Now the engine's installed. Okay? We got a few extra parts to go in. I'm going to have to paint this one before it goes in. And that's one of the reasons why I was looking for. Because I got to paint the seats. And I might as well get a whole bunch of stuff that needs painting. I got a lot of parts that need that particular color of paint. So I'm going to go ahead and put these other 3 parts on. And then paint that part. Now, this water hose is my next challenge here. It's going to run from the radiator up to here. Okay? Some of you can already see how that's going to be a challenge to feed in here. Okay? You can see it's going to be a challenge. I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on the ends of these. I kept them fairly clear of glue to begin with. I mean paint. Not 100%. This one's got more primer on it than paint. And you can see my paint's getting chipped and stuff as I'm doing this. And I expect that, to be honest with you. Let's get my lacquer thinner. And we're going to remove the paint off this one end here. And you can see it's taking the paint off pretty quickly. Paint removed. Alright. So now I lit up my lacquer thinner because it'll dissolve quickly. I'm going to go ahead and put glue on this end. And again, I'm using the Tamiya regular cement because it doesn't instantly melt the plastic. It does a stronger hold to the plastic. And I'm going to feed this part in here first, where it belongs. Okay, now it's already in that part of the radiator where it belongs. And since the glue's on the end of it, it'll help hold it. And there we go. Now it's in place where it belongs. Okay? And it came out, which is okay. Now this time, I'm going to use a toothpick to get some glue in there with, because I need something, a better, more precision applicator to get the glue on the end of this part correctly and in that groove correctly. That brush is just too large in there. Now I can take my set of tweezers and pull the part. Oh, and I pulled it free from the radiator. And sometimes these things are pretty fiddly. No lies. And you're doing it live on camera with at least 100 people viewing. At least 100 people are going to view this video. Probably more. But I got the radiator hose in place now. Okay. Radiator hose is now in place. We got this fiddly bit that goes across the top. I didn't paint the underside of it very well, but they have a lot of good paint on the top. So we need to remove paint again. Alright. And I really hate to hide this gold spot, but you know, sometimes you do what you gotta do. And that's where the two parts are going to attach, to these two spots here. And you can see it does take the paint off. Lacquer thinner removes most paints. Some acrylics it won't. Yeah, I think it'll even hit acrylics. We don't use it as paint remover because it will melt plastic as well as everything else. And I might have to use some CA glue on this one, because this gold paint just is not coming free. No. It's not. It's being stubborn. You can see it's coming out on the... But it's really being stubborn and sticking. I'm scrubbing it pretty good. So, I'm just going to use a bit of CA glue to glue this one on. If that paint wants to stick on that well, it can. Okay. I'm also got the directions right in front of me, and I'm consulting them constantly to make sure, as I put these pieces in, they go the way they're supposed to go. Okay? And this part's supposed to go in there like this. So I'm going to get her in there right. And I'm going to take a little bit of CA glue. And this is not quick setting CA. It won't instantly bond. This one's going to take about a minute and a half to bond. So I have time to maneuver this part around a little bit if I don't get it in there at first properly. Okay, and I'm not getting it in there properly. Isn't this fun? Maybe I got it backwards. The directions say it goes that way. Yeah, the directions say it goes that way. The directions say it goes in here like this. So I'm going to set her in there one more time. I could have put this in there before putting the engine in, I think. There it goes. No, that can't be right. There it goes, right like that. Alright, that's in there now. Okay, one more part, and I definitely have to remove paint for this one, is the master brake cylinder, which just tried to get eaten by the carpet monster. And it goes in here like this. It attaches at this point right here. And far too much paint right there for what I want to do. So, we're going to try to remove it again. And in case anyone's wondering why I have paper here underneath me instead of my cutting board, no particular reason. The paper was here because I was working on the Mercury 9, and doing the groundwork, and the paper picks up the extra fake grass and stuff. As you can see, I've removed, it's right there, pretty much most of the paint. Okay? And this part doesn't have any paint where it attaches. I was pretty good about putting my paint clips there. I put some glue. Take my part. And put it in place. And we let that sit for a while, and it'll be fine. Here we go. I got one part left, and the engine's done, and step 3 of this car out of 15 is done. Alright. Up next is the suspension, and that will be the fun part. Getting the suspension done. Okay. Well, I'll be back in a little bit. That clip's probably plenty long. I gotta paint this before I can finish the engine and move on to step 3. And I got a little bit of wiring I want to do. I want to put a wire between here and the distributor cap, because that's coil for the distributor cap. And I'm actually thinking, more email. I am popular today. I'm actually thinking of running some brake lines. We'll see. If I have time, I'll run some brake lines. Simply because this engine is detailed enough as it is. Okay? And I probably will go nuts trying to do the brake lines on this thing. I have the wire for it. I don't know if I have the patience, to be honest. We'll see. But anyhow, there you go. I've almost finished the engine compartment. There's like two more pieces that go in there. One is a windshield wiper motor, but that comes in after you've installed the glass. In fact, it's one of the last pieces that go on the car. Are the windshield wipers and the windshield wiper motor, and the hood, and the exhaust pipe. Those are the last pieces. Okay? Yeah, the windshield wiper motor goes on the car body itself. So no, I got one piece left and the engine's done. And then step 4, 5, and 6 is suspension. All that's already painted, so I could probably do that fairly quickly too. I may do the step 6, which is the rear suspension, because that's like 4 parts. Alright, anyhow, I'll be back in a little while. Hope you guys enjoyed.